locate axis, right now, if I go to rotate around the current axis, you'll see that axis is in the center. Zero that out again. The y-axis is in the center. They're horizontally so that it rotates vertically. Zero that out. And then the z-axis rotates around the center of the graphic in that fashion. Now, that helps us understand now as and that was using the spin. There is a target rotate, there's also a spin. According to the programmers, the target rotate math is very, very sophisticated, very smooth and accurate. Frankly, I can't really tell much different from the spin, but when you use the spin, you can go many times around. If you use target rotate, it'll only rotate once. So we've seen what rotate does. Now let's move the axis over a little bit. I'm going to go back to locate briefly. I'm going to go to 1 in the size, which is full screen. Now I'm going to move the x-axis. I'm going to go ahead and move that minus 16. 16 minus, and if we remember the coordinate system, that should put that axis on the left edge. Well, let's see if it does that when I now spin or rotate that. And let's see. Sure enough, there the axis is along the left edge. We can program kind of a hinge effect or something that way. I'm going to go back and zero that out. And I'm going to zero out the x-axis as well. I'm going to take that y-axis now, and I'm going to go to 9 minus. That should rotate it when I go to spin again, and I want to rotate the y. That should rotate it around the bottom. And sure enough, there it is at the bottom. So we see how easy that is to get kind of a hinge effect if you want to do a transition like that. It's pretty easy to get to. So that covers the locate, a bit of the locate axis. Now, of course, also with the z, we can do, see what happens when we put in like 16 on the z-axis. And then we go back to spin and we rotate around the z. So now that's rotating along a point at the bottom there. Something you can just play with. We'll just zero that out. Now see what happens when I relocate the z-axis. I'm going to move that back a little bit. Go maybe about 9 back. Remember that positive numbers move z away from you. So now I should have an axis that's behind that graphic, say, to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it around. I'm going to do an X rotation, but you're going to see the effect it has on because we've relocated the z-axis. So now, instead of just rotating right around the center of the graphic, it's like it's rotating around a point that is 9 units behind that. You can see the difference there. So that's a pretty good look at at what the relocating the X, Y, and Z axis will do. I'm going to zero that out again, zeroing out the Z axis as well. And we're back to ground zero. Just a quick point of information here. This defaults to curve as a path type. That's going to be something you would like to use, say if you're doing 3 points, you're moving your source along a curve to begin with. My preference is to use S linear. That means that it starts out slow, speeds up, and before it gets where it's going, it will slow down and stop. Now, I bag myself a lot by forgetting to do that and having to go back and re-edit that in, which you can do But sometimes when you're moving a graphic around and it doesn't seem to be quite as linear as you want it to be or as smooth as you want it to be, the path type might be an issue. When you're using a curve, tension and bias and all the things that you'll find in here will come into play. We're not going to really look at that right now. It's kind of beyond the scope of an introductory lesson, but feel free to play with that as you're building your effects. Now we're going to go on and move from locate to skew. We're still in the transform menu. Skew is pretty easy. It doesn't take very long to check it out. It is as you would think. Let me real quickly go back, and I'm just going to move this to a size again of 0.5. We can kind of see what we're doing. There we have it. Now we're going to skew X. You see the top and the bottom stay in the same place. They just slide back and forth. Now when we do Y, you're going to see the sides stay in the same place, and it moves in that fashion to skew the image. I'm going to zero that out. Let's take a little look at aspect. It's pretty much what you think. I can change the X aspect of it, zero that out, and I didn't want to zero it. I wanted to 1 it out. Now we're back into normal size. And then the Y aspect, as you would think, and put a 1 there. And then just the ratio kind of moves both of them together. Comes in handy sometimes. So we'll go back. That's basically the skew and the aspect. The perspective, first we're going to need to put just a little bit of rotation in it, and I'll show you what changing the perspective will do. So we'll go back to locate. I'm going to just give it just a little bit of Y. So you see that's kind of a normal looking tilted image. But now we're going to go back to skew, perspective, and we can see not much happening here in the X world. Not much happening in the Y world. But when it comes to this inverse distance, 1 over distance, you can really warp that perspective to get that Star Wars credit roll effect quite easily. And it's pretty cool looking. But that's how you do it. You won't see that perspective change unless there's some rotation in one direction or the other on that. So I'm going to go back real quickly because I can never remember what the default perspective is. And I'm going to go to user 4, and this time I'm just going to do the geometric parameters on key 1, and that should fix it all up. Now we go back to transform skew, and we notice that is 0.0164. So please remember that. You'll have to know it for a test. Just a quick word about the post transform here. Basically, the post transform is an X, Y, Z set of parameters that moves your entire effect after you've done everything else to it. So it's not going to change perspective as far as axis or rotation or anything like that. It's just at the very end of the effect you can move that around to kind of resize or reposition it if you need to tweak it just a little bit without reprogramming your entire effect. So that's what post transform will do for you.